Computers have been writing music as good as humans for a long time. In the 1980s, David Cope's software EMI wrote classical music in the style of any composer it analysed. When played alongside pieces from Bach and Chopin, experts couldn't identify which was written by the computer and which by the real composers. In fact, the real Bach and Chopin were judged to be worse than the computer-generated pieces. In the early 2000s, the Continuator successfully imitated modern jazz composers. One said, "Everything it plays is unquestionably me." But can you tell the difference? I'll play a few examples. See if you can tell which was written by a human and which written by an AI. Two more. Actually, sorry, all four you just heard were written by an AI. Specifically, the MIDI notes were written by today's sponsor, MUSIA, and I didn't cherry pick my favourite four. These were the first four I generated. I did choose the instrument presets though, like how Bach might have chosen which orchestra to play his tunes. Sorry, compositions. Choose a genre, choose a tempo, choose a key, and choose note density, syncopation, and complexity for the melody. Price is $10 a month with 1 month free trial. 40% off the yearly plan, available until January 15th. Just know that the chords aren't syncopated, so you'll have to program your own rhythm for these, if necessary. Back to the video. Now we know that AI can match humans at writing MIDI, which is essentially sheet music. How good is it at generating raw audio? Gross. Not great. This makes sense though, because MIDI is much simpler than raw audio. Skipping over the nuance of data compression, 44.1K 16-bit audio contains over 2 billion potential values per second. In MIDI, ignoring velocity, you might have only a few hundred somewhat logical choices every second. MIDI is easy, raw audio is hard. But that being said, it's fair to say that AI will reach human-level raw audio at some point in our lifetimes. One of the classic music theory books is The Jazz Theory Book by Mark Levine, and Mark says, a great jazz solo consists of 1% magic and 99% stuff that is explainable, analyzable, categorizable, doable. That's all stuff that can be put in an algorithm. You might not be aware of these underlying patterns or structures, but they're there. Music is distinct from noise because of its underlying mathematical structure. The patterns of rhythm, timbre, and harmony are what makes music. And AI is awesome at finding patterns. But will AI ever write better music than humans? In the famous Go match between AlphaGo and the world's best player, move 37 of game 2 showed AI outperforming humans in a creative way. This was a move no one had ever seen before. It's not a human move. I've never seen a human play this move before. So beautiful. It was new, it was surprising, it was interesting, and it was a better move than any human had thought of before. So by all definitions of the word, it was creative. The AI didn't just copy human strategy, it came up with a new, better strategy. And this happened in Go far sooner than humans thought it would do. In the case of music, AI will need to look for more than just patterns in the raw audio. It will need to consider the listener's previous music experiences too. As shown in this paper here, we're not born with a preference for one type of music over another. Let's look at the consonants of chords, for example. Compare a perfect fifth to a tritone. The simpler the frequency ratio, the more consonant we say it is. And the argument is, the simpler the ratio, the better the two notes mathematically sit with each other. So a perfect fifth should sound more pleasant or natural than a tritone. The paper showed that Western people have a preference for consonant chords, but that a tribe in the Amazon didn't have a preference for consonant chords. In other words, we have a preference for consonant chords because we've grown up listening to consonant chords, not because they are objectively better than dissonant chords. The task of music production is knowing which sounds, harmonies, rhythms, patterns, and structures will resonate with the listener. Imagine when an AI can analyze my entire lifetime of listening data. It could analyze every song I've ever listened to and match that with data about how long I listened for and how much I enjoyed it. And this isn't as crazy as it sounds. Recent text completion AI GPT-3 used the whole internet as its training data. Yes, it read the whole internet, so there'll definitely be a point when an AI can analyze everything I've ever listened to. With this data, it'll be able to create unique songs just for me, optimizing around the Wundt curve. It could create a mathematically perfect song for me. Ultimately, human artists don't stand a chance. This says it all. Scared yet? Hypothetical future aside, how long until AI will write all the music? Think about this. A significant percentage of music listeners aren't actively listening. They are passively listening. When music is background music, there doesn't need to be an artistic statement or anything especially interesting or novel happening, and Spotify themselves have taken advantage of this. They commissioned unknown artists to create songs for meditation and running playlists at royalty rates much more favourable to the company. Obviously, this only worked because the music is structurally simple and easy to churn out. Sounds like something AI could do in the not too distant future. We can already generate images using AI. Using Wombo Dream, I could type in something like castle robot or walking trees, and it will generate artistic images fitting this description, giving different results every time I run it. OpenAI's DALL-E is maybe even more impressive. They asked the AI to draw an armchair in the shape of an avocado. Again, by any definition of the word, the results are definitely creative. More interestingly though, artistically speaking anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing the music equivalent of Google's Deep Dream project. Here, the goal wasn't to create aesthetically pleasing images. The goal was to show engineers how the neural networks were visualizing the world. So in some sense, this is more meaningful art, as the images show us how the AI sees the world. Maybe AI art is how we'll first discover evidence of emerging artificial consciousness. In the meantime, we'll be using it as a tool to create our own things. No, not this. Music things. You can find a link to today's sponsor, MUSIA, in the description below. See you in the next one.